This is SeerNova Podcast, episode 116. We have Ed Jowett, and I'm going to play the little intro thing.
Shall we talk comics? I'm here to talk comics. Shall we talk comics?
Yeah. We got distracted by project management and audio.
Yeah, Black Magic and yeah. We're doing loads of really cool stuff. In the show notes right now, we've got our active project. That one is Violete Unstoppable. It's an audio dramatization of one of our very early comics. It was the third empowered comic, superhero comic, that we produced. We had a lot of fun recording that. This was before I moved. I've moved elsewhere now, but I was living in a flat with someone was above, below, and to each side, right? So when we recorded the transformation scene at like 7 p.m., we were pretty sure that someone was going to call the police because the voice actor like, and it's So it's this dude who's turning into a lizard man. It's quite painful. And he's sort of screaming in agony, and we're like, we're a bit scared now. Is someone going to call the police here? Are we going to get in trouble?
That's awesome.
Either that or they must have been more used to it. So either they didn't hear it, or they were, they were aware that we were recording or something. Because no one did call the police, but we did wonder at the time. Because it did sound like we were murdering someone. I only made him do 3 takes of it.
That's pretty sad. I can imagine that they're next door and like they hear that and they're like, oh my God, do we need to call the police? And they have the phone up there, then they hear it again and it's the same and they're like, what the hell is that? It's like, they just kill twins? Like, what was that? Poor neighbors.
So yeah, it was a huge amount of fun, and particularly the 2 main characters, the Jade Melhuish, who played Violet, and Adam Dirgeman, who played Rampage. They really gave it their all. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
So that's on Kickstarter now. It's very nearly funded. We've just come off a comic project called Drift Heroism. We just finished. That had a huge amount of support. It was really nice. Brought in a little over $2,000 actually, which was just really nice to see. Lots more people getting involved in our universe. So that one's being lettered now. I've got a number of more comics on the way. The exciting thing is, we're just coming to the end of our phase 1, which is 18 comics in total. So we've done some Blue Shift, we've done some Violet, we've done some Lacuna, Penumbra, Lobo. We've got another Lobo comic coming. Lobo was when Lobo first came out, it got really great reviews. And then the artist went away for a long time. And I've only just now been able to finish off Lobo number 2. I've got the last page of artwork. Really excited to continue telling that story. He's sort of a very adaptable idiot. He's the kind of person who will walk into a building with no plan that's absolutely full of security and still get all the way through to where he was going in the building. Because he's sort of Batman with no strategy at all, only tactics.
Is he like Batman meets Domino? Like it gets lucked out?
It might seem that way, but actually, given the way he gets beaten up and stabbed and various other things, I'm going to say no.
So like maybe more like Deadpool and Domino.
Bit more like that, yeah. Except
I feel lucky, but I don't always feel lucky.
he doesn't have any. He doesn't have any superpowers. So, and unfortunately for him, his foe, his supervillain, does. She's a bit of a nasty customer. She has the ability to grow her bones, basically, so they emerge from her skin. You could think Wolverine. Usually, it looks more like a big spider legs that come out of her back and stab things.
Like Doc Ock, Doc Ock style coming out of the back. Is that what you're saying?
Kind of, yeah. Except it's her actual bones. Like, so you can just extend her bones.
Oh,
she likes.
That's cool. Yeah, did you ever watch what the heck's the name of it? My Hero Academia?
No, I didn't. But I'm aware there is someone a little bit like that. Yeah.
Well, it's somebody that has like it's not the same thing, but it just made me think of it. He has like the ability to duplicate his arms and then add like appendages like an eyeball or ears to like listen or see things.
Yeah.
And but I just pictured that, but like coming from the back, and I'm like, okay, I can see that. That's pretty cool. Is it like
Sorry?
I was gonna say, is it like is it the bones? Like, is it like the ribs? Like, or is it like extra bones? Like, how like what's coming out?
So it looks more like extra bones. Although she's also capable of basically sort of thickening her skull at the front. So if you punch her, you hurt your hand and don't do a lot.
So basically, just the ability to restructure where bones are and what they're doing.
And grow them as much as she likes, yeah. And
that's very cool.
When she's, yeah. So basically, he ran into her at the end of the first issue. He got his ass handed to him because although he can beat humans pretty effectively, he was not ready for like an empowered. Yeah, and basically she's too quick, she's too strong, so he's forced to basically escape. And you know you can respect the way he escapes. She basically stabs at him with an arm. He sort of stabs that arm into like a drain cover, and then she pulls out the drain cover, jumps in the drain, so he escapes. But you know that all happened in issue 1, and in issue 2, sort of he basically knows that he's not going to beat her one-on-one, so he needs to find some help. But he doesn't want like someone who's a high-profile person. Like you know, he could go for Lacuna or Blue Shift or Violete or Penumbra or any of the characters that we've done already, but he doesn't actually want that because he wants someone that she won't see coming. So he goes out and he finds a level hero whose powers are a little like undefined at the beginning of the comic, sort of deliberately so.
Gotcha.
And she has the ability to make plants grow, which sounds boring, right? Until you imagine someone being knocked on their back and having plants grow from the ground through them, and just it gets very nasty very quickly.
Is it like any amount of plants and stronger than normal plants? Kind of the idea.
They're not particularly stronger than normal plants, just any amount of plants.
Just quantity. It's just like just overwhelm.
So like she in the beginning of the comic, she knocks this guy back, and just he's lying flat on his back, sort of. Not quite KO'd, but a bit fuzzy. And all of these plants just grow through his body, basically stabbing him to death.
Man, it made me think of the what is it? There's an old like Chinese torture where they would like lay you on a bed of bamboo because bamboo grows so fast, and they would tie you down, and that's how they would get like torture people. Yeah, not pretty.
Nasty. Yeah. So, you know, but at the same time, the Empress of Bones, the bad guy, she's accelerating her own plans. You know, she's invented this device that gives anyone who wears it bone armor. And she's sort of getting ready for a full-scale takeover of all of the cartels in her city. And she's ready to go ahead and do this, and then Lobo and this other character, Savannah. Well, yeah, they're going to walk just straight in because that worked really well last time, so let's do it again. And then obviously, you know, I don't want to spoil you for the end of the comic, but we go on with that.
I like that. Like you're taking the exoskeleton literally, like as opposed to like just an armor. It's like literally an exoskeleton of bones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's exactly that. And it sort of activates when they get hurt. So if you punch them or you smash their head into a window or whatever, that's when the bone armor appears.
That's cool.
It just covers their entire body. It's bulletproof. You know, it is basically impossible to hurt those people unless you kill them with the first touch.
Gotcha. So the whole point is like you have to stealthily get them, and then if not, they basically just have like emergency mode casting. Can they move in that though? Like, is it an armor they can move in? It's not like it's not just like a shell. Yeah.
Yeah, they can move. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, they can move. Yeah, they can fight. Yeah, it's pretty bad news for Lobo, as I'm sure you can imagine. He does blow one of them up with an explosive. That works reasonably well. Although the level of explosive that you have to use to blow them up is fairly extreme, and you can't really wander around with that much high explosive strapped to your body if you like to do it. So that's quite interesting. So that's Lobo. He's coming soon. We're doing a sequel to Fauna. That was another really popular comic when it came out. Fauna number 2. Actually, I've mentioned Rampage already. This is an exclusive to you guys. I've not told anyone this yet. The bad guy of Fauna number 2 is Rampage from the Violete comic. The dude who turned into the lizard. That lizard is also the bad guy in Fauna number 2. So the irony is that Fauna turns into a bear or a lizard or a bird, like various animal forms, and Rampage actually looks a lot like Fauna's lizard animal form. So the idea is that it's a case of mistaken identity. There's a giant lizard that's grabbing people off the street going, "Are you her? Are you her?" Because he's looking for Violet because she beat him when they met. And people just assume it's Fauna because Fauna's roaming this city. People just assume Fauna's gone nuts. And there's this lovely bit where I get to kind of play with Fauna, like he's not even entirely sure. Like he can't entirely dismiss the possibility that maybe he's like falling asleep, changing into a lizard and heading out the window kind of thing. So, it's all about, am I harming my own community now, which is all I really ever wanted to protect.
Yeah, because my power taken over, yeah.
Which is a lot of fun to play with. And then also in the first comic, at the end of the first comic, his sister learns who he is. And she obviously wants to stop him from hurting people. She thinks it's pretty cool he's a superhero. But she doesn't want him to hurt people. So, she's out there, no powers. She's just out there trying to stop this lizard, which she reckons is probably her brother and actually isn't. And it's a glorious mess of complete misunderstandings. While Rampage he heard that Violet had been in this city recently. So when he escaped prison, he came here looking for her. So any female who's about the right height and about the right skin color, are you her? It's kind of like, whoa, okay. So that's awesome. Fun.
Is that the first crossover connection? Is this like the first time that you're aware that they're the same universe?
Actually, no. We did Cascade a little while ago. Actually, it's since I last spoke to you. So Cascade was a team-up between Lacuna, Blueshift, and Violet, and Penumbra. So the 4 kind of main characters that we'd had before. Actually, Fauna's going to make a quick cameo in issue number 2.
Nice.
But
because I remember you mentioning that there was a crossover, yeah.
Yeah, they basically teamed up to fight this giant robot lady, who, whenever you hit her, she gets bigger because she turns energy into matter. With a
nice
multiplier. Yes. So they've worked that out now at the end of issue 1, which has been published, and we've got issue 2 in artwork at the moment. It's all well and good knowing that that's what happens, but what are you going to do? Like how do you stop that? You still can't stop it. Like you still gotta, you can't hit it. So okay, so you can't hit it. So how are you gonna stop it then?
You got to plug an old iPhone into it because those things suck the crap out of energy and they just don't.
That's a good idea. I'm not sure we considered that, but it's a good idea. But yeah, number 2 of that and number 3 will be part of this phase as well. And then there's one other. There's a character that appeared in Penumbra's comic called Vigilance. And I had some spare time, and yeah, believe it or not, I actually did. And I wrote a comic for her, kind of not origin of her powers, but how she changed from spoiled rich girl into killing machine. And sort of how she made that transition from one thing to the other. And that one's been, the artwork's done. That'll probably be one of the next comics we bring out. So like we're heading for like a phase 1 omnibus sort of situation where it's like 450 odd pages, I think we decided. Really, really excited about that. It's all the comics have come out really nicely. We've just got like, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more comics, and phase 1 is done, and then we get to move on to phase 2, right? Then we get to start going, okay, right. So we've done the here are the characters, and here's the major threat. Here's them teaming up to overcome it. Right now we're ready to start sort of doing something a bit more complicated, a bit more ambitious with the story than just here are the characters and here's what happened. Our idea around phase 2 is sort of a loss of the support system. So each of these characters have their own support system going on. So Violet, she's very close to her parents. We've already built in Violet a way that her parents are not going to be allowed to be around anymore because they're immigrants. So she was born in the country where she lives. Her parents are immigrants to that country. She has citizenship. They don't. And every time they go, this is actually based on someone I know. Every time they go for a visa, they're told, okay, it's being renewed this time, but it's not going to be renewed next time. So, you're going to have to make some other arrangements. And I know someone who's told that for like a decade, every year.
Jeez.
I mean, can you even imagine trying to live your life like that? And particularly raise a child in that situation?
Yeah.
That's got to be awful. Her parents are hanging by a thread. I've got a really fun, like both fun and terrifying story, which is what you should expect from me and Jennifer Martin, the writer who writes Violet with me. We've got the Unstoppable Fire Ant, which is literally just a dude in a flameproof suit with 2 extra papier-mâché arms in the flameproof suit. So he's got like 6 limbs, and he runs around setting fire to things. That's what he does. That's his thing.
And they're did you say they're papier-mâché arms?
But they're in like a fireproof suit.
Okay. He's like, burn! Ah! Messed up.
I suspect that happened at least once or twice before he figured out to make the suit have 2 extra arms. He's not the smartest guy, but he just runs around setting fire to things.
That would be a fun little, like an extra comic, like a small extra comic strip to add to a Kickstarter would be like the testing of the suit, and he's like, okay, now let's try this out. Oh, that's pretty good. Oh, just like freaking out. I kind of want to do that now with other stuff.
The Unstoppable Fire Ant was someone I came up with in a role-playing game session I was running, actually, of Era the Empowered. And it was sort of inspired by the death of Superman and the reign of the Superman. So the idea was that the leader of the good guys had disappeared and was believed to be dead. And then suddenly, like, people start seeing him around, like different versions of him. There's like a cyborg version of him, and it was sort of my version of exactly Reign of the Superman. And basically the Unstoppable Fire Ant was just this one guy who wanted to take advantage of this guy's absence. And he gets stopped by someone who's in the session. He got stopped by someone who was like a fan of the guy who went missing, and sort of wore a costume to honor him, as it were. Sort of like Steel in the recent DC animated one. But yeah, no, I just thought the concept was so silly, so fun that I had to use it somewhere. Like he had to be a thing, the Unstoppable Fire Ant.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I mean, like we're moving on to that. We're moving on to there's more to come from Lobo. There's more to come. John, my longtime co-writer on many of these projects, he was over here in June, and he sat down and he said to me, Ed, I want to write a comic, but you'll never say yes. You'll never say that this is okay to write. And he pitched it to me, and I said, yeah, okay, we'll do it.
Nice.
And I can't get too much away about that, but man, you guys are gonna love it. It's stuff that most mainstream comic companies won't write. They don't want to. But comics are supposed to be about telling stories, right? And telling the story you want to tell. This is a story that John wants to tell. I'm 100% behind him telling it. It's hard. It's going to be hard to read. It's not going to be an easy one. I mean, emotionally hard to read rather than bad writing or whatever. But,
it's actually written in Japanese.
Yeah, no, I just thought I'd test you and see how good you were. No, it's going to be a bit hard to read, but it's a really good story. It's a really powerful story, and I think that quite often, especially in the superhero genre, we can get a bit trapped into, we'll write the thing that that everyone knows, that everyone's comfortable with, that we write all the time. The villain of the week, and there's the bad guy, good guy fights bad guy loses, or bad guy wins first and then good guy comes back, or whatever. And you can get into that rut a little bit.
Yeah.
And so the idea that we have is something that's a bit different to that, a bit risky, to be honest. I mean, we did that as well with Violet. Violet number 2. We decided to have a go at tackling some mental health stuff. We wanted to look at, not exactly PTSD, but sort of people not being quite right after a very traumatic experience. It didn't go quite as far as PTSD because, again, PTSD is very publicized. Everyone knows about it. Everyone knows that people can get it after a traumatic experience. But at the end of the first issue of Violet, she had won. She won that fight. And even so, it affected her a lot. It changed who she was because of the things she had to do in order to win. And that should be a little bit sort of difficult to handle. Your worldview is going to change when you slap up an evil lizard crocodile chimera man's face. It's your worldview has to change slightly. And we have this wonderful opening for the comic where she opened the first comic saying, I'm Violet. I think I'm pretty ordinary. Not the way I do things, but I know what's right and wrong, and I just try and make sure people don't do things that are wrong. That's not that abnormal. And then we start the second issue. I've not felt normal for a while now. I don't quite know what's happened, but I've changed. I'm more willing to resort to violence. I'm more willing to use excessive force. And I don't, but I've kind of always heard that, if you're wondering if you're going crazy, then you're probably all right.
Yeah.
And sort of the comics an exploration of, obviously there's other stuff going on as well, but in a big way, it's an exploration of how you deal with something that's traumatic, but you won, right? Because I think that quite often people forget that about heroes. You can have a victory that was... you see it all the time with Superman. Superman fights Doomsday and wins. okay, he nearly didn't. You know, he got stabbed and whatever. You know, whatever. He nearly didn't win, but he won. So he's fine next week. Probably
I was gonna
not.
say, like, that's something like a lot of, like, kind of like the everyday heroes deal with, like if police officer,
Yeah.
firemen, soldiers,
Yeah.
like, the people that they end up winning, but it's like, the people that see what happened during it. Yeah, exactly. At what cost? It's like the invisible trauma. It's
and it's
like,
oh, you got the arrest. It's all good, policeman. It's all good because you got the arrest, and it's like, yeah, but what I saw during that. Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff that we decided that we were going to explore with Violet number 2. There's a lot more to come from Violet from others as well. I mean, I'm sure you can imagine that characters losing their support systems, which is sort of the theme of our phase 2. It's going to be tough reading in some places. We're talking about. They get through this stuff, and the reason they get through it is for their sister or their parent or whatever, or because of even those people. But it's not going to be that easy when the support system goes away. So yeah, I think it's a really fun concept, and again, we've actually planned out somewhere between 18 and 25 issues for our phase 2 as well. I've got a lot of +1 question marks here. Like fauna, I've written 1 +1 question mark. So we might do 1, we might do 2, not decided yet. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff coming right now in the Empowered universe. I've got Kickstarters right up until the end of the year and beyond. And that's a really good opportunity for me to talk to what I was talking to Greg about earlier. Before we started, which is New Year, New Stories. So any comic creators out there, you can probably reach me on Facebook, or Greg puts up all the stuff in the show
links.
Those. I for the last couple of years, I've run a project called New Year, New Stories. Actually, I've got last year's one right here. So this is New Year, New Stories. It's a comic that is, or an anthology rather, that is a whole bunch of different comics. The requirement is that it's a comic that came out this year, so between January 2022 and January 2023, or it's a comic that hasn't come out yet. So it can be a preview of something that doesn't exist yet. That's fine too. There's no other limitation to what can go in here. And what we do is we come together, we put them all together in an anthology. We put them up on Kickstarter, and we share the profits between everyone. So everyone works together. We bring some of the really cool new stories that you might not have seen because, let's face it, conventions are coming back now, but even then, people walk past or they're too small and local or whatever. I love going to conventions. I love meeting people who want to learn about our stuff. Equally, I can't go to conventions in the US, so there's a huge number of people who won't find out about my stuff that way. So yeah, we put it up on Kickstarter. We then published that book, like the one you saw. Really nice print, glossy cover, glossy interior, nice paper, the rest of it. And yeah, that's New Year, New Stories. You don't have to pay anything to be part of it. You're welcome to submit something. There are a few guidelines. It can't be massively overtly political one way or the other. It's I don't want to go around offending people. It can be black and white. It can be in color. And the artwork has to be of a certain standard, but I've really never had anything submitted yet.
Like no crayons.
Yeah, you have to be better than me, which is not saying a lot.
Like if you're going to use the crayons, at least use the 265 color pack. Like don't use that 32 one. Like that's weak.
So yeah, I mean, anyone is welcome to submit.
But by the way, when you I was gonna ask when you put all the comics in there, do you do anything to like promote like where to find them on there? So like let's say there's a section that has the whole comic. Is there like a page with like information of the company in it?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean that's what it's all about. So here is an example. We call it a links page when we're doing the
Nice,
project.
like a link tree or something like that. That's awesome.
But yeah, you literally just add a page there that says, here's my stuff, this is where you can find it.
Well, one thing I would recommend actually for this upcoming year's version is putting QR codes in there, because like honestly, this is something I talked about I think on one of our other podcasts. That's cool. Yeah, like because it's one of those things we talked about on another podcast, but basically because of the COVID stuff, everyone's used to using QR codes, and even phones have been like hyper optimized to track them. Like I've taken pictures of stuff that I didn't know there was a QR code in the background, and it picked it up. Like it's gotten really good. So like having QR codes now is like a hyper.
One that I did.
Yeah, see, that's perfect. That's awesome.
Absolutely. So everyone does their own links page. They do their own cover, their own links page, their own comic. It all gets put in, and they submit what they want to submit. I basically send out examples like indeed that one there with the QR code, and go, hey, this is what I do. Here are a few things that other people did. For anyone who isn't sure about how you make a QR code, you just Google QR code online. There are literally sites that just turn your thing into QR codes.
I got a question for you.
Really simple. Really.
So it's called Year in Comics, correct?
New Year, New Stories.
New Year, New Stories? Okay, that's what I was curious about. New Year. I'm just looking up something real quick. New Year, New Stories. Dang it, that one's taken. I was trying to look up domain names because it'd be really awesome actually to have like a dedicated website to like just all the comics that get put in there. And then just have like, like maybe even just the cover art of all the stuff in there, like where to buy the full book, and then where to buy like the individual books.
So that's just a bit tricky because, again, these are non-exclusive to New Year, New Stories. That's part of the deal. That's the other thing. So the other thing that people worry about is, will I still be able to have my comic? Am I selling you my comic? What's going on? So the answer is we have a one-time license to print for the Kickstarter. And for any subsequent Kickstarters where people want to buy back issues. So if you want to buy New Year, New Stories, you have to buy it from one of the New Year, New Stories Kickstarters.
Yeah.
So like if you miss 2021, if you miss 2022, you can get them from 2023, but you can't get them any other time. Because otherwise it's a bit unfair on the people who then, like, stuff I've put in there, it's then become its own comic. Melkart was in 2021. You might have seen, in fact, this is Vigilance. I mentioned this is from the Vigilance comic here. This is my character, and that's Drift, in fact, from the Drift comic. So both of those are coming out as their own comics, and it was just previews that you got in this book. So people need to still obviously own their own stories after the fact. So what we do is. We say, we basically got this license to print it only for the New Year, New Stories Kickstarters, and that's it. And we'll never try and print it again. We can't print it outside. We can't sell it outside of the Kickstarter.
Gotcha.
So, I understand that. I understand the impulse, and I absolutely get it. But I also don't want people to feel like they can't submit because they lose any opportunity to sell it.
I wonder if because I mentioned like this domain name's taken anyways, but I wonder if there's still a way to do it, but just link to the individual creators so that people can see like this timeline of comics of the people that have been in the book. Because I just think that would be so cool. Like, you ever see that thing where like it's like the tree where it's back and forth of all the comics and when they were released? So you can have like the 2022 one, and then it's like January, February, March, and it just shows like when they were released in that little timeline. I just think that'd be awesome. Even if it just links out to their comic or just to the Kickstarter so they can see it, so that they know that they come the next year, that kind of thing. I just love that idea because I actually did this for one of our artists. He was running a show, but he wanted to run a series of shows with the same like intro title called Neo Nashville, so kind of like a Neo Tokyo vibe in Nashville. And so I literally looked, and I was able to buy neonashville.com. So I put up some cool pictures on there. I put up a link to the Eventbrite, right? So it was literally like just a directory to the stuff that's involved with it. So that's why I liked it. I like getting domain names. They're fun. And I have like a big enough hosting account that I can like toss stuff up on it. So I'm like, whatever, let's throw it on there.
You're right. Union Stories is apparently taken with a blank website.
Yeah, the one I did find though was Year in Comics, which I might actually snag that, and then like, you know, if you want to like use that for something, that'd be cool. Or if you want to get it too, yeah, it's yearincomics.com.
Well, I'll think about it.
Yeah, if not, I might add it because I like that stuff. Like, it's just cool because. So interestingly enough, I was working with a client who's trying to find like a business name, and we're running through like thousands of these domain names, and like literally, there's so many that are still available. And every once in a while, I find one where I'm like, really? Like nobody owns this one? Like it doesn't seem that complicated. Like no one's thought of this. So it's kind of cool because people take up like Instagram accounts all the time, right? Where you're like, how does somebody own the name of my business and it's blank? There's nothing. They don't have a single post. It was created 5 years ago and they've never used it. Like it sucks. But with domain names, because you have to pay for them, like people don't always just sit on them. So it's kind of cool that there's some that are available that are like, you know, that could be used for some cool stuff.
Absolutely.
Yay.
Also, newyearnewsstories.org seems to be not taken, and
I did see that
as well.
Well, you're in the UK, so right?
Yeah.
Is the .co.uk taken?
Don't know. I don't want to go too far into this because
I know
then like,
rabbit hole.
Through me, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We'll like just start bleeping out every time we say the name. It's like, wow, blank.com is available. Nice. Cool.
Oh,
Nice.
Sandwich pencils. Yeah. Thanks for coming on. And
So is there a Kickstarter that's live right now? You said I forgot the name of it. I think you mentioned it earlier.
Violet Unstoppable. Yeah,
Violet
it's
Unstoppable.
the audio drama version of the first Violet comic. Yep. So that's that one. We've got loads more coming as well. So keep an eye on the links that Greg has placed in the show notes there. Thank you. Check out Violet because there's some really, really cool stuff. It was very interesting bringing a comic to life through audio. Just the different requirements because trying to do a fight scene in audio versus a comic is almost completely the opposite. Really, really interesting stuff. But yeah, thank you very much for having me on.
Mm-hmm.
I will hope to be back again soon, sometime.
Yeah, sometime. We'll figure that out.
To what's it called? Our virtual Comic-Con at the end of the year.
Oh, if I possibly can, I will. Yeah, like I did last time.
You were. It's definitely. It's always great having you on there. That's why I just tossing that out there. I know it's only August, but what is it? September, October, November, 3 months.
If I can possibly make it, I will absolutely be there.
Nice. Yeah. Once we know
I've got one convention commitment in November, so it depends when it is, but probably fine if it was fine last time.
It's going to be 25th, 26th, 27th. There we go. I was trying to find the dates because it's the Friday after Thanksgiving through the weekend. So 25, 26, 27.
I hate to tell you this, but Thanksgiving isn't a thing here.
I know, yeah. That's just an easy date, though. So, yeah. So November 24th is Thanksgiving, and then it's the Friday is the 25th, 26th, 27th. I just thought about it. I know you guys have Thanksgiving. But Black Friday is like a huge online sale. Do you guys still do something like that?
I know. It's very weird. We have Black Friday, but not Thanksgiving. It's very strange.
Yeah, it's like out of nowhere. It's like everyone's buying stuff. It's like, why? It's like there's no reason to do this.
Well, it's just all the UK businesses also drop all their prices.
Yep.
I'm guessing because otherwise they get slaughtered. So yeah.
Yeah, it probably
Anyway,
is one of yeah.
I'll definitely be along if I possibly can.
Yeah,
Awesome.
we'll start working on that. I think in October. I just scheduled the rest of our year out. So cool. Well,
Sweet.
coming on, and yeah, people should back the Kickstarter, which is in the show notes. So, yeah.